Okay, so I just finished putting the epoxy between the strips and the spacer blocks. And then what I did was I took some just regular masking tape and covered one side, and then I flipped both gunnels so that they're facing each other. The masking tape is just so that if I have any epoxy on the surface of the one, they're not going to bond together and I have a useless piece of wood. Even if they did, I could probably manage to, rip them on the table saw and get them apart. But still, anyway, it just avoids that problem. And now I'm just going to put some clamps on it along the way, and then I'll clean up the wood and just get rid of any squeeze out that happens, and that way it just saves me some time once the epoxy is fully cured, and I go to the cleanup stage of sanding and shaping them. Okay. So as you see, I'm spacing myself out at first just to get it started, and then I'll go back and I'll put a clamp on every point. Okay. So what I'm doing also, of course, is just making sure that the levels are, the height of the wood, that they're level, and also that the spacers haven't shifted. They're going to shift slightly, and that's all right, but if they look like they've shifted a quarter of an inch, then you probably want to adjust it. Okay, so I'll continue just putting a few more clamps in place, and then I'll go and I'll clean it all up, and we'll just let that sit. Okay, so we've got the inner gunnels now laminated together. I've got the spacer blocks laminated with you know, the outer full length piece. In this case we're using ash, so I think I mentioned before. The lamination with thickened epoxy. So that's had time to cure and is good and solid. And then what I've done is I've used my rotor table, and on the outside of the gunnel I've put 3/8 round on it, and then using a 1/4 inch round I've gone in between the spaces. Okay. So the next step is to go along and sand and just make sure it's all uniform, and any burn marks from using the rotor, we clean those up and make them look nice. So in the meantime, while I've been working on this, I've attached the outer outer gunnels onto the canoe, and they're drying up now, so it gives me time to work on this while something else is being done. Okay. Okay, so I should mention as well that the sanding job that we're doing right now doesn't have to be perfect, because when we attach the gunnels to the canoe, we're going to get out, squeeze out epoxy from the seams, and then we're going to have to sand that off anyway. But basically we just want to get it ready so that, you know, it's a lot easier to work on it now when we can get it flat and straight. Once we have a curve, it's not tricky by any means, but you know, it's just not as easy as when it's lying flat. So just take some time, clean it up. The gaps in the spacers, that's something we definitely have to do now. Once they're attached to the boat, it'd be pretty difficult to get in there. I'm sure we could do it probably with a file or something like that, you know, maybe a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a cedar strip we could get in there, but anyway, it's a lot easier to do it now. Okay, so you get the idea, and yeah, I'll just clean these up and then we'll attach them to the boat. Okay, so that's one inwall done, and that took about just a little over an hour to sand. And sorry, someone's been following me along as I've worked my way down, so yeah, so it took about an hour and 10 minutes to do one in-wall, to do the sanding, and I'll get to do the next one. And the thing is, when going to build a cedar strip boat, it's going to take a lot of time, especially in the finish work. And you don't want to rush the finish work after you've spent all that time, you know, picking the right cedar strips, laying them out so that they look nice in the hull, doing a good job with your fiberglass and epoxy. You really don't want to rush the finished trim work with your gunnels and your deck and seats, because in the end it's all going to blend together really well. And if you do rush through the finishing touches, then it's going to really show. So while working away, I was remembering one of the first cedar strip boats that I built, and more than one person told me that it looked like it was very tedious work, and it probably is to some people. But if you start to do it, and if you enjoy, you know, working with your hands and doing fine woodworking, then it's definitely worth it. If you don't like that type of work, then you will probably hate building a cedar strip boat. Not long ago, I had somebody in the shop who told me that they started building one and gave up and ended up selling a half-finished hull. Who knows if the boat ever got finished, but that is the type of work it is. You're gonna need to have some patience, and you're gonna need to know and just be prepared for the long haul of a lot of hand sanding and dust and fumes and you know, patience. So anyhow, so I'm not gonna record sanding the next one, but that, I think, concludes this section of making the gunnels for a cedar strip boat. Thanks for watching.